Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we're covering crop circles.
This feels like one of those topics that's been quietly memory holed. Most people hear crop circles and immediately go, wasn't that debunked? Case closed, and move on.
The official story, of course, is that two guys with boards somehow became the most prolific land artists in human history overnight, in the dark, across multiple countries.
So today, we're going to do what we always do. Pull up the Wikipedia page, read what it says, and then actually talk about what's being left unsaid.
Let's get into it, brother. A crop circle, crop formation, or corn circle is a pattern created by flattening a crop, usually a cereal. The term was coined in the early 1980s. Crop circles have been described as all falling within the range of the sort of thing done in hoaxes by Tanner Edis, professor of physics at Truman State University. Although obscure natural causes or alien origins of crop circles are suggested by fringe theorists, there is no scientific evidence for such explanations, and all crop circles are consistent with human causation. In 1991, two hoaxers, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley, took credit for having created over 200 crop circles throughout England in widely reported interviews. The number of reports of crop circles increased substantially after interviews with them. In the United Kingdom, reported circles are not distributed randomly across the landscape, but appear near roads, areas of medium to dense population, and cultural heritage monuments, such as Stonehenge or Avebury. They usually appear overnight. Nearly half of all crop circles found in the UK in 2003 were located within a 15-kilometre (9.3 miles) radius of the Avebury stone circles. In contrast to crop circles or crop formations, archaeological remains can cause crop marks in the fields in the shapes of circles and squares, but these do not appear overnight and are always in the same places every year.
Okay, so right out of the gate, I love how confidently this is written. They say, all crop circles are consistent with human causation. Classic Wikipedia. They'll say, there's no evidence for anything unusual here, and then immediately list a bunch of unusual facts. History is the first section here, starting with before the 20th century.
Before the 20th century, a 1678 news pamphlet, The Mowing Devil, or Strange News out of Hertfordshire, describes a crop whose stalks were cut rather than bent. In 1686, an English naturalist, Robert Plot, reported on rings or arcs of mushrooms, see fairy rings, in the Natural History of Staffordshire, proposing airflows from the sky as a cause. In 1991, meteorologist Terence Meaden linked this report with modern crop circles, a claim that has been compared with those made by Eric von Daniken. An 1880 letter to the editor of Nature by amateur scientist John Rand Capron describes how several circles of flattened crops in a field were formed under suspicious circumstances and possibly caused by cyclonic wind action, stating, as viewed from a distance, circular spots, they all presented much the same character, viz., a few standing stalks as a centre, some prostrate stalks with their heads arranged pretty evenly in a direction forming a circle round the centre, and outside there a circular wall of stalks which had not suffered.
I love the picture for the mowing devil. 20th century is up next.
20th century. In 1932, archaeologist E.C. Kerwin observed 4 dark rings in a field at Stoughton Down near Chichester, but could examine only one, a circle in which the barley was lodged or beaten down, while the interior area was very slightly mounded up. In Fortean Times, David Wood reported that in 1940 he made crop circles near Gloucestershire using ropes. In 1963, Patrick Moore described a crater in a potato field in Wiltshire that he considered was probably caused by an unknown meteoric body. In nearby wheat fields, there were several circular and elliptical areas where the wheat had been flattened. There was evidence of spiral flattening. He thought they could be caused by air currents from the impact, since they led towards the crater. Astronomer Hugh Ernest Butler observed similar craters and said they were likely caused by lightning strikes.
I'm trying to stay focused here, but I know somewhere way down this page there's a paragraph about aliens, and I'm looking forward to that part.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Wikipedia. You usually have to wade through a lot of disclaimers and throat clearing at the top before you get to the interesting parts they tuck way down the page. So stick with us. The weird stuff is almost always buried at the end. During the 1960s, there were many reports of UFO sightings and circular formations in swamp reeds and sugarcane fields in Tully, Queensland, Australia, and in Canada. For example, on August 8, 1967, 3 circles were found in a field in Duhamel, Alberta, Canada. Department of National Defence investigators concluded that it was artificial, but couldn't say who made them or how. The most famous case is the 1966 Tully saucer nest, when a farmer said he witnessed a saucer-shaped craft rise 9 or 12 metres, 30 or 40 feet, from a swamp and then fly away. On investigating, he found a nearly circular area 10 metres, 32 feet, long by 8 metres, 25 feet, wide, where the grass was flattened in clockwise curves to water level within the circle, and the reeds had been uprooted from the mud. The local police officer, the Royal Australian Air Force, and the University of Queensland concluded that it was most probably caused by natural causes, like a downdraft, a willy-willy, dust devil, or a waterspout. In 1973, G.J. Odgers, Director of Public Relations, Department of Defence, Air Office, wrote to a journalist that the saucer was probably debris lifted by a willy-willy.
Okay, I had to Google it. And a willy-willy is an Australian term for a dust devil, a small, intense vortex.
After the 1960s, there was a surge of ufologists in Wiltshire, and there were rumours of saucer nests appearing in the area, but they were never photographed. There are other pre-1970s reports of circular formations, especially in Australia and Canada, but they were always simple circles, which could have been caused by whirlwinds. British pranksters Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley reported they started creating crop circles in British cornfields in 1978, inspired by the Tully saucer nest case. The first film to depict a geometric crop circle, in this case created by super-intelligent ants, was the 1974 science fiction film Phase 4. The film has been cited as a possible inspiration or influence on the pranksters who started this phenomenon. The majority of reports of crop circles have appeared and spread since the late 1970s, as many circles began appearing throughout the English countryside. Around this time, researcher Colin Andrews began documenting the phenomenon, and in 1989 he co-authored Circular Evidence with Pat Delgado, a work that compiled reports and photographs of early formations. This phenomenon became widely known in the late 1980s, after the media started to report crop circles in Hampshire and Wiltshire. After Bauer and Chorley gave interviews in 1991 about how they had made crop circles, circles started appearing all over the world. By 2001, approximately 10,000 crop circles have been reported internationally, from locations such as the former Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, Japan, the US, and Canada. Researchers have noted a correlation between crop circles, recent media coverage, and the absence of fencing and/or anti-trespassing legislation. Although farmers expressed concern at the damage caused to their crops, local response to the appearance of crop circles was often enthusiastic, with locals taking advantage of the increase of tourism and visits from scientists, crop circle researchers, and individuals seeking spiritual experiences. The market for crop circle interest consequently generated bus or helicopter tours of circle sites, walking tours, t-shirts, and book sales.
Okay, let's slow this down and come back to reality for a second. Yes, some crop circles are fake. Yes, some were clearly made by pranksters. Nobody serious disputes that. But that doesn't explain what starts appearing later on. We're talking about enormous formations with precise geometry. Crops that aren't snapped or crushed, but bent smoothly at the nodes. Stalks woven together, sometimes layered, laid down with a consistency that doesn't look rushed, sloppy, or accidental. Whatever is happening there, it doesn't reduce neatly to two guys with boards. 21st century is the next section. Let's see where it goes.
21st century. Since the start of the 21st century, crop formations have increased in size and complexity, with some featuring as many as 2,000 different shapes, and some incorporating complex mathematical and scientific characteristics.
2,000 different shapes! Let's not just breeze past that. That is fascinating.
The researcher Jeremy Northcote found that crop circles in the UK in 2002 were not spread randomly across the landscape. They tended to appear near roads, areas of medium to dense population, and cultural heritage monuments such as Stonehenge or Avebury. He found that they always appeared in areas that were easy to access. This suggests strongly that these crop circles were more likely to be caused by intentional human action than by paranormal activity. Another strong indication of that theory was that inhabitants of the zone with the most circles had a historical tendency for making large-scale formations, including stone circles such as Stonehenge, earthen mounds such as Silbury Hill, long barrows such as West Kennet Long Barrow, and white horses in Chalk Hills.
Now for the section, Bower and Chorley.
In 1991, two self-professed pranksters, Doug Bower and Dave Chorley, made headlines by saying they had started the crop circle phenomenon in 1978, using simple tools consisting of a plank of wood, rope, and a baseball cap fitted with a loop of wire to help them walk in straight lines. To prove their case, they made a circle in front of journalists. A seriologist, advocate of paranormal explanations of crop circles, Pat Delgado, examined the circle and declared it authentic before it was revealed that it was a hoax. Inspired by Australian crop circle accounts from 1966, Bower and Chorley claimed to be responsible for all circles made prior to 1987, and for more than 200 crop circles in 1978 to 1991, with 1,000 other circles not being made by them. Writing in Physics World, Richard Taylor of the University of Oregon said that the pictographs they created inspired a second wave of crop artists. Far from fizzling out, crop circles have evolved into an international phenomenon, with hundreds of sophisticated pictographs now appearing annually around the globe.
Art and business is up next.
After reports of simple circles in the 1970s, increasingly complex geometric designs have been created by anonymous artists, in some cases to attract tourists to an area. Since the early 1990s, the UK arts collective Circle Makers, founded by Rod Dickinson and John Lundberg, and subsequently including Will Russell and Rob Irving, has been creating crop circles in the UK and around the world as part of its art practice and also for commercial clients. The Led Zeppelin box set that was released on the 7th of September 1990, along with the remasters of the first box set as well as the second box set, all feature an image of a crop circle that appeared in Eastfield in Alton Barnes, Wiltshire. On the night of 11 to 12 July 1992, a crop circle making competition with a prize of £3,000, funded in part by the Arthur Koestler Foundation, was held in Berkshire. The winning entry was produced by 3 Westland Helicopters engineers using rope, PVC pipe, a plank, string, a telescopic device, and 2 stepladders. According to Rupert Sheldrake, the competition was organised by him and John Michel and co-sponsored by The Guardian and The Seriologist. The prize money came from PM, a German magazine. Sheldrake wrote that the experiment was conclusive. Humans could indeed make all the features of state-of-the-art crop formations at that time. 11 of the 12 teams made more or less impressive formations that followed the set design. In 2002, Discovery Channel commissioned 5 aeronautics and astronautics graduate students from MIT to create crop circles of their own, aiming to duplicate some of the features claimed to distinguish real crop circles from the known fakes, such as those created by Bower and Chorley. The creation of the circle was recorded and used in the Discovery Channel documentary Crop Circles: Mysteries in the Fields. In 2009, The Guardian reported that crop circle activity had been waning around Wiltshire, in part because makers preferred creating promotional crop circles for companies that paid well for their efforts. A video sequence used in connection with the opening of the 2012 Summer Olympics in London showed 2 crop circles in the shape of the Olympic rings. Another Olympic crop circle was visible to passengers landing at nearby Heathrow Airport before and during the Games. A 7-acre crop circle depicting the emblem of the Star Wars Rebel Alliance was created in California in December 2017 by a father and his 11-year-old son as a spaceport for X-Wing fighters.
And just to be clear, nobody's denying that human beings can make patterns in crops. Of course they can. What's strange isn't that crop circles can be made, it's that some of the most complex ones appear overnight, fully formed, with geometry that would require careful planning, coordination, and precision. Calling those cases explained just because some circles were hoaxes, that is just silly.
But they made Star Wars.
Legal implications is next. Then we will get to the good paranormal stuff.
In 1992, Gabor Takach and Robert Dallos, both then aged 17, were the first people to face legal action after creating a crop circle. Takach and Dallos, of the St. Stephen Agricultural Technicum, a high school in Hungary specializing in agriculture, created a 36-meter, which is 118 feet, diameter crop circle in a wheat field near Székesfehérvár, 69 kilometers or 43 miles southwest of Budapest, on the 8th of June, 1992. In September, the pair appeared on Hungarian TV and exposed the circle as a hoax, showing photos of the field before and after the circle was made. As a result, Aranykalas Company, the owners of the land, sued the teens for 630,000 Hungarian forints, which is about $3,000 in damages. The presiding judge ruled that the students were only responsible for the damage caused in the circle itself, amounting to about 6,000 Hungarian forints, about $30, and that 99% of the damage to the crops was caused by the thousands of visitors who flocked to Székesfehérvár following the media's promotion of the circle. The fine was eventually paid by the TV show, as were the students' legal fees. In 2000, Matthew Williams became the first man in the UK to be arrested for causing criminal damage after making a crop circle near Devizes. In November 2000, he was fined £100 plus £40 in costs. As of 2008, no one else has been successfully prosecuted in the UK for criminal damage caused by creating crop circles.
Now for the good stuff. Creation is the next section, starting off with human origin.
The scientific consensus on crop circles is that they are constructed by human beings as hoaxes, advertising, or art. The most widely known method for a person or group to construct a crop formation is to tie one end of a rope to an anchor point and the other end to a board which is used to crush the plants. It is also possible to bend grass without breaking it if it has recently rained, a method that was used to create crop circles in Hungary in 1992. Skeptics of the paranormal point out that all characteristics of crop circles are fully compatible with their being made by hoaxers. Bauer and Chorley confessed in 1991 to making the first crop circles in southern England. When some people refused to believe them, they deliberately added straight lines and squares to show that they could not have natural causes. In a copycat effect, increasingly complex circles started appearing in many countries around the world, including fractal figures. Physicists have suggested that the most complex formations might be made with the help of GPS and lasers. In 2009, a circle formation was made over the course of 3 consecutive nights and was apparently left unfinished, with some half-made circles. The main criticism of alleged non-human creation of crop circles is that while evidence of these origins, besides eyewitness testimonies, is absent, many are definitely known to be the work of human pranksters, and others can be adequately explained as such. There have been cases in which researchers declared crop circles to be the real thing, only to be confronted with the people who created the circle and documented the fraud, such as Bauer and Chorley and Tabloid Today hoaxing Pat Delgado, the Wessex Skeptics, and Channel 4's Equinox hoaxing Terence Meaden, or a friend of a Canadian farmer hoaxing a field researcher of the Canadian Crop Circle Research Network. In his 1995 book, The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, Carl Sagan concludes that crop circles were created by Bauer and Chorley and their copycats, and speculates that ufologists willingly ignore the evidence for hoaxing so they can keep believing in an extraterrestrial origin of the circles. Many others have demonstrated how complex crop circles can be created. Scientific American published an article by Matt Ridley who started making crop circles in northern England in 1991. He wrote about how easy it is to develop techniques using simple tools that can easily fool later observers. He reported on expert sources, such as the Wall Street Journal, who had been easily fooled, and mused about why people want to believe supernatural explanations for phenomena that are not yet explained. Methods of creating a crop circle are now well documented on the internet. Some crop formations are paid for by companies who use them as advertising. Many crop circles show human symbols, like the heart and arrow symbol of love, and stereotyped alien faces. Hoaxes have been caught in the process of making new circles, such as in 2004 in the Netherlands.
Okay, finally that part is over. Now for natural origins, starting with weather. Take it away, David.
Okay, Maurice. It has been suggested that crop circles may be the result of extraordinary meteorological phenomena ranging from freak tornadoes to ball lightning. But there is no evidence of any crop circle being created by any of these causes. In 1880, an amateur scientist, John Rand Capron, wrote a letter to the editor of journal Nature about some circles in crops and blamed them on a recent storm, saying their shape was suggestive of some cyclonic wind action. In 1980, Terence Meaden, a meteorologist and physicist, proposed that the circles were caused by whirlwinds whose course was affected by southern England hills. As circles became more complex, Terence had to create increasingly complex theories, blaming an electromagneto-hydrodynamic plasma vortex. The meteorological theory became popular, and it was even referenced in 1991 by physicist Stephen Hawking, who said that corn circles are either hoaxes or formed by vortex movement of air. The weather theory suffered a serious blow in 1991, but Hawking's point about hoaxes was supported when Bauer and Chorley stated that they had been responsible for making all those circles. By the end of 1991, Meaden conceded that those circles that had complex designs were made by hoaxers.
Now for the section animal activity. I hope they don't try and blame foxes.
In 2009, the Attorney General for the island state of Tasmania stated that Australian wallabies had been found creating crop circles in fields of opium poppies, which are grown legally for medicinal use, after consuming some of the opiate-laden poppies and running in circles.
Yes, of course, wallabies know pie. The golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence and make complex geometric patterns after crushing some opium poppies. Alternative explanations is up next.
In science magazines from the 1980s and 1990s, for example Science Illustrated, one could read reports suggesting that the plants were bent by something that could be microwave radiation, rather than broken by physical impact. The magazines also contained serious reports of the absence of human influence and measurement of unusual radiation. Today, this is considered to be pseudoscience, while at the time it was subject of serious research. At that time, it was also more likely that an unknown factor was behind the incidents, not least seen in light of the fact that GPS was not available to the public.
And finally, we have reached the section paranormal.
Since becoming the focus of widespread media attention in the 1980s, crop circles have been the subject of speculation by various paranormal, ufological, and anomalistic investigators, ranging from proposals that they were created by bizarre meteorological phenomena to messages from extraterrestrial beings. There has also been speculation that crop circles have a relation to ley lines. Some paranormal advocates think that crop circles are caused by ball lightning, and that the patterns are so complex that they have to be controlled by some entity. Some proposed entities are Gaia, asking to stop global warming and human pollution; God, supernatural beings, for example Indian devas; the collective minds of humanity through a proposed quantum field; and extraterrestrial beings. Responding to local beliefs that extraterrestrial beings, in UFOs, were responsible for crop circles appearing, the Indonesian National Institute of Aeronautics and Space, LAPAN, described crop circles as quote-unquote man-made. Thomas Jamaluddin, research professor of astronomy and astrophysics at LAPAN, stated, "We have come to agree that this thing cannot be scientifically proven." Among others, paranormal enthusiasts, ufologists, and anomalistic investigators have offered hypothetical explanations that have been criticized as pseudoscientific by skeptical groups and scientists, including the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. No credible evidence of extraterrestrial origin has been presented.
Now for the section, Changes to Crops.
A small number of scientists, physicist Elcho Hasselhoff, the late biophysicist William Levengood, have claimed to observe differences between the crops inside the circles and outside them, citing this as evidence they were not man-made. Levengood published papers in journal Physiologia Plantarum in 1994 and 1999. In his 1994 paper, he found that certain deformities in the grain inside the circles were correlated to the position of the grain inside the circle. In 1996, Joe Nickell objected that correlation is not causation, raising several objections to Levengood's methods and assumptions, and said, "Until his work is independently replicated by qualified scientists doing double-blind studies and otherwise following stringent scientific protocols, there seems no need to take seriously the many dubious claims that Levengood makes, including his similar ones involving plants at alleged cattle mutilation sites." Nickell also criticised Levengood for using circular logic, stating, "There is, in fact, no satisfactory evidence that a single, genuine, that is, vortex-produced, crop circle exists, so Levengood's reasoning is circular. Although there are no guaranteed genuine formations on which to conduct research, the research supposedly proves the genuineness of the formations."
We will be reading the Wikipedia page for cattle mutilation soon, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that one.
Advocates of non-human causes discount on-site evidence of human involvement as attempts to discredit the phenomena. When Ridley wrote negative articles in newspapers, he was accused of spreading government disinformation and of working for the UK Military Intelligence Service, MI5. Ridley responded by noting that many seriologists make good livings from selling books and providing high-priced personal tours through crop fields, and he claimed that they have vested interests in rejecting what is by far the most likely explanation for the circles.
Related art is next.
Patterns similar to crop circles can also be made in snow by using skis, snowshoes, or just walking with ordinary shoes. Images can be made in forests by cutting trees, especially in areas with snow. Celebrating the Olympic Games in Lillehammer, Norway in 1994, 360-metre or 390-yard tall stylized image of an Olympic torch runner was made in a forest close to one of the arenas.
Now for folklore, the last section.
Researchers of crop circles have linked modern crop circles to old folkloric tales to support the claim that they are not artificially produced. Crop circles are culture-dependent. They appear mostly in developed and secularized Western countries, where people are receptive to New Age beliefs, including Japan. But they do not appear at all in other zones, such as Muslim countries. Fungi can cause circular areas of crop to die, probably the origin of tales of fairy rings. Tales also mention balls of light many times, but never in relation to crop circles. A 17th-century English woodcut called the Mowing Devil depicts the devil with a scythe, mowing, cutting, a circular design in a field of oats. The pamphlet containing the image states that the farmer, disgusted at the wage demanded by his mower for his work, insisted that he would rather have the devil himself perform the task. Crop circle researcher Jim Schnabel does not consider this to be a historical precedent for crop circles because the stalks were cut down, not bent. The circular form indicated to the farmer that it had been caused by the devil. In the 1948 German story Die 12 Schwane, the 12 Swans, a farmer every morning finds a circular ring of flattened grain in his field. After several attempts, his son sees 12 princesses disguised as swans who take off their disguises and dance in the field. Crop rings produced by fungi may have inspired such tales, since folklore considers that these rings are created by dancing wolves or fairies.
Actually, it was just dancing foxes.
All right, That's the whole page, folks.
Thanks so much for checking it out. If you like this video, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to check out some of our other videos. We've got stuff on alien abduction, lucid dreams, déjà vu, and a bunch of other wild, fun topics. So check out our page and stay tuned. We've got new videos coming out super soon.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. We love you, keep it real, and Wu-Tang forever.